Welcome to delicious restaurant quality food at home. Today, fried potatoes with ramps and eggs. I first fried the bacon in my pan, and I left about 3 tablespoons of the bacon grease in there. Whatever come off of the 3 strips of bacon was what I left in the pan. And then I fried 3 of the ramps in the grease to get the grease to taste like the ramps, and then I removed the ramps. I'll put them back in with my potatoes here in a minute. Then I add all the potatoes to the pan. Chopped, not washed, dry. You never want to put a wet potato in a pan because it just steams. It won't sear and get that crust that I like. My grandma taught me when you're frying potatoes, you have one chance to French fry the bottom of those potatoes. And we're going to take that opportunity. You first put them in there in the hot pan, in the hot grease. You want it to go shh when you put it in there. You want to hear that sizzle. Then add salt and pepper. Potatoes love salt, remember that. They like a lot of salt. See that French fried look there? That comes from letting that sit there 5 minutes. Your timer is your best friend when it comes to frying potatoes. The first 5 minutes cooked no lid. Then flip them, stir them up, put the ramps on top. Now we're going to finish this with lid. And get a little bit of that grease over every one of those potatoes. And then put your ramps in on top of that. And make sure you've salt and peppered well. And then you're going to put a lid on these. We'll cook them again for 5 minutes. And then again for 5 minutes. And then again for 5 minutes. Then we'll add water. But you cook them at 5-minute intervals until they've cooked about 20 minutes. And then you have to lower your time to about 3 to 4 minutes. And that way you don't burn your potatoes. And your ramps are delicious. And by frying the ramp in there in the beginning, you are distributing the taste of those ramps through every bit of this potato because it has it in the oil. Now I placed that a quarter of a pound of the bacon. I saved another quarter of the pound of the bacon to go in my eggs. And now I'm adding in a third a cup of water. And I'm going to put the lid back on quickly, and I'm going to let that steam off. And that steam is what's going to help cook those potatoes in the middle. Anywhere you see a white potato in there, it still isn't cooked, because when they cook, they turn beige. Now I'm cooking this at 5-minute intervals with the lid on for the rest of this application. And each time you put a little bit of water in there, you're going to cook it until that water completely goes away, and then check for the consistency of your doneness to see if you need another little bit of water or not. I have 3 eggs beaten, a quarter cup of water, a quarter cup of milk, salt, pepper, and a half a cup of ramps in my bowl. And I'm going to cook a half a cup of ramps in about 3 tablespoons of these and chop them up and fry them. And I removed the bacon grease out of that pan and put in about 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter. And I like my eggs to be fried in butter. And the ramps, I just let them dance around on the pan for about 15 seconds. You don't want them to get any color because ramps will burn real quickly. So all you're going to do is dump your eggs in, and then we're just going to let them sit. I want them to get some texture, and I want them to rise. Now all I put in these 3 eggs was a half a cup of moisture, a quarter a cup of water because water makes eggs grow, and a quarter a cup of milk for flavor, salt and pepper, and a little bit of the ramps, and then we're going to put some bacon in it after it cooks up and becomes congealed. All you want to do is just to congeal it, kind of like an omelet. And I'm going to stir them one time, pile them up in a pile, and then we'll have a substance to eat. I don't like to just dump the scrambled eggs like some people do down over those potatoes because it just turns to mush. The potatoes takes on a different texture. They get slimy and yucky. And so I like my egg to be cooked hard, like congealed, not hard, congealed, to have the texture of a cooked egg, but still have the taste of that cooked ramp in the egg. And then you have the texture at the end of your meal of the eggs with the ramp in it. That's absolutely divine. And the bacon just kicks it over the top. Put that over in with my eggs. Now what I done was stir them one time, make sure they're not stuck to the pan. And then I'm just going to put them over on one side and put the lid on because they're still moist. And I'm going to let them congeal into a harder, tight substance so that we'll have something that won't fall apart in our pan and on our plate. This is a tried and true way that I've done it for years. And I tried it other people's ways. A lot of people would just fry their bacon in the pan, dump the potatoes in on the bacon, dump the ramps on top of that. They don't sear the potato on the bottom. The potatoes turn to mush, and they're almost like mashed potatoes when they're done. And I don't like that. I like for my potatoes to have a crispier, individual texture, if you will. Type of meal that they serve here in West Virginia called the Feast of the Rampson. And it's in Ridgewood every spring of the year. And they have ramps and fried potatoes, and they boil their ramps a little bit. They just, after, these are called, my neighbor used to call them ramp penises because they were so tiny. It just because they haven't came out of the ground yet. But somebody goes and digs them, and we can find them here in West Virginia for $9.99 a pound, and I'm all over that. This is one of the delicious types of meals that you don't soon forget. And it's also a make-ahead meal. You can make this ahead, put it in the refrigerator, place it in a casserole, put it in the refrigerator or the freezer, and then when you're ready to eat it, just cover it and heat it in the oven for about 15 to 30 minutes. It depends on if it's frozen or not. Okay, now that the ramps and potatoes are done, I'm going to put them over into a bowl and get to work here on chopping up the eggs. Now, when you're putting the eggs in there, you just want to distribute them in bite-sized pieces or a little bit bigger throughout the top of the bowl, and then just give it one stir. The more you stir it, the more you're going to break up your eggs. This is a delicious meal, delicious restaurant quality food at home. Please like and subscribe, and if you like my channel or my video, please share with a friend. Y'all come back now. Here